Hello, everybody. Hello. Make sure that I'm inviting some friends. I hope you guys all had a good evening. Hello. Thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you for joining. Hi, Virtuous. Hello, TaShay. Can't wait to talk with you. We'll just wait a couple of minutes and let some more friends join us. Okay, I hope you guys had a good day. I am Naomi, and I am excited to talk with my friend TaShay this evening. I'm so happy that you guys joined us. I hope you had a good Tuesday. So I hope that everyone had a nice Father's Day with the father and the man in your life. Hope you had a good Sunday, good Father's Day. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. So I'm Naomi from Naomi Books, LLC. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We do this every Tuesday. It's a pleasure for me as a children's book author to interview other authors who have written incredible books. Many are indie authors that otherwise wouldn't get that attention, and their books wouldn't be before us as some of the other books from the major publishing houses are. So it's a pleasure for me to get to know these authors better and to introduce them to you. So I'm Naomi from Naomi Books LLC, as I said, and I am the author of this book, Johari the Great. It's about a boy, his imagination, and a freshly sharpened pencil. Also have a coloring book to go with that. So I love being a children's book author. I love writing, but I can't imagine anything that fulfills me more than writing for children. So that's why I'm so interested in getting to know other people who have that same passion that I do. I do want to say before we continue, I want you to check out my shirt, Dope Black Children's Author, and I want to say thank you to our friends over at Dope Black Nation, because they have a shirt for anything that you could possibly think of that you do and that you're proud to do, and it's dope and it's black. We're children's authors. So check them out on Instagram, Dope Black Nation. So I see that TaShay has already joined us. So let me make sure and invite her in. So I got my post and I told you a little bit about her book as she's coming on to join us. I love this book. Hi, TaShay.
Hi.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
I can, and I can see you too. You look lovely.
Thank you. I love that shirt.
Girl, I know I saw yours and you look good in it too.
Thank you.
And happy birthday. Yesterday was your birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, did you have a good day yesterday?
Yes, I did a little bit of running around and I slept with my dog Bella most of the day.
Oh,
So it was perfect birthday for me.
good. I remember that name Bella from the book. See, I just learned something right there. You see
Yes,
how I did that?
yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. So why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself to everyone? Make sure that I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Okay. My name is TaShay Mason. I children's book author, my first book, but I don't want to say goodbye. I'm also owner of Belshey House LLC. I'm looking to in the future publishing other books, but right now just trying to get my feet wet in the publishing business and learn everything I can and continue to write children's books.
Yes, yes, we have some comments. First of all, they love your hair.
Thank you.
And Virtuous is saying it's a beautiful book.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
it really is. And so, in full disclosure, I wanted to let people know that I didn't meet you on Instagram. I actually met you last year when your book first came out. I think, was it, what month did your book come out?
It came out in November.
I met you in a Facebook group for children's book authors where review each
That's
other.
right. Yes,
I
yes.
reviewed your book, and I was so moved by your book that I wrote to you privately. Do you remember that?
I remember. Yes, I
Yes.
do.
You didn't
I had to
remember that
think
that
about.
was me.
I had to think about it for a minute. I was like, oh, that's right. That was you.
That was
Yeah.
me. So when I saw you on Instagram, I knew right away that I wanted to connect with you because I was so impressed with this book, and I was literally moved emotionally
Thank
and spiritually.
you.
And
Thank you so
spiritually.
much.
Yeah, and I told some people about it. So I was so excited when you decided to join our little group, the Sister Authors.
Which I
And
love the group.
I'm so glad. Yeah, it's so nice to have that bit of support,
Hmm.
because no matter what you're doing, you've got the group, our group, that's going to be commenting, encouraging, and supporting you,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So I love
Absolutely.
that. I love that. But before we chat with you a little bit personally, I just want to show this book again, but I don't want to say goodbye. And I want to just show a couple of the illustrations
The
because the
wonderful Tanya
illustrations,
Colley. I'm still
okay.
working with her, illustrating the second and third book. So yeah,
Oh, that's
she's awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really nice. And I gave a little bit of information on my post today announcing your interview about the book and how it helps a child to deal with grief.
Hmm.
So it's a very important message, but you presented it so well. Um, am I right that you are or were a social worker?
I am
You
currently. Yes.
are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I used to be a social worker. I used to be a foster care
Ah,
specialist.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was very close to my heart because there's so many sad stories in social work,
Hmm.
right? But
Hmm.
you did such a good job. So we're gonna get to the book. I can't wait to share my
Thank
favorite part.
you.
During the interview, I always take, and I call it my favorite minute. I take my favorite minute. Usually it's longer, but anyway, I take my favorite part of your book and I read it and share it, and then I tell why I chose it, and then I like to have you talk back to me about what you feel about that portion. So we'll
Okay.
get to that. Okay, so first, tell us about you. Let me tell you first what I remember. I remembered you were a social worker, and I remembered that you are military. Is that right?
A veteran. Yes. Army veteran.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank
That
you.
that is very important and that's very special. Thank you. So tell us about your family.
Okay. So, I now when I say family, and as you seen in the book, my family extends. It's not just blood relatives.
Okay.
And my family extends into the military as well. So it's a wide range. So my mom, who is, my rock star, who's
Mm,
championed me in anything that I've done positive. If I want to do it, her thing is, let's go research it, let's check it out, and then give you time to think about it. If it's what you want to do, we'll go from there. My dad, who died when I was 9 years old, which is why was my inspiration of writing the book. I have three sisters. I have my grandparents, my cousins, nieces, nephews, my military veteran folks, even
so you
some of the
truly
people
have
at
an
work.
extended family.
Yes, I do. Yes,
That's
because I
awesome. That's
realized
a big support group.
yeah, and at a young age, I learned that family does not have to be blood. I learned
Right.
that at a very early age, and
Right.
it's really stuck with me for a very long time. And especially during the time I was grieving my father's death, and everything, and that support system is very important to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. And I
Right.
see one of the people in the comments, that now that's one of my real sisters there too, Sister Goose. She sent in a question earlier. She was going to ask, had you experienced a loss as a
Yes,
child? And so losing your dad was your inspiration for this book.
absolutely. I was 9 years old, December 12th, 1986,
Wow.
right before Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I listen, I lost my parents as an adult, and still to this day, I will start crying in a second if you ask me about my mom,
Right.
right?
It's never easy.
No,
Death is never easy. Even though we understand that it's a part of life, we know that sometime down the line we will experience it, but it
Absolutely.
doesn't negate the feelings that you had, especially if you had a close connection with that person.
That is very, very true. So imagine as a child,
Hmm.
having to deal with that. That's why I appreciate your book so much. I really do. So before we get into the book, do you
Hmm.
have children?
Yes, I have. Actually, he'll be 23 years old, and
Oh,
he is going to see the world and seeing what's going on with life. So,
all right. Well,
yeah,
that's what they're supposed to do at that age,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah,
what they're supposed to
absolutely,
do.
yeah.
So I usually ask all the authors, what is it just one son?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and
What
I do have my four-legged daughter, Bella.
Bella?
So
Yeah,
she's my
let's not forget
four-legged.
Bella.
Yes, yes, she's very
Yes.
important.
And I can relate because we have Nina and
Okay.
she is everything in this house. So I get it. I get it. So what do you like to do with you and your son, either when he was younger or even now? What is your favorite activity with him?
Well, so I adopted him when he was 12. So his journey with me started when he was 12. I'm a huge cartoon person. I love cartoons. And we bonded over Dragon Ball Z.
Wow.
Yes, that our first phone call, that's what we bonded over was Dragon Ball Z. That
That is
was
so
that, that
beautiful.
and it was so funny because he would sit on the when we talked and I asked him what some of the things he liked to do, and when he said cartoons, I said, "Oh, I love cartoons. What's your favorite?" He goes, "Dragon Ball Z." I said, "I love Dragon Ball Z too," and he kind of paused
He was
to
like, does
see if
she
I asked,
really?
does she
Right.
really know? And I said, "Well, my favorite character is Piccolo," and he goes, oh, "You too know about Dragon Ball Z." That whole call was about Dragon Ball Z. That was the first
Wow.
call I had with him.
That's a blessing.
Oh yeah, and so we would some weekends we would do a Dragon Ball because it's Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT. We would
I
do a full
remember this.
marathon.
I remember.
So
I'm
we
not a fan,
did.
but I remember my son,
Yeah, so we did a
my
full
youngest.
marathon. I mean, one Thanksgiving, that's all we did. We had turkey and watched Dragon Ball.
That's
So
beautiful.
yeah, some other things
Someone else
I
is saying their son's. Oh, I love
I
Dragon Ball. My son's name is from that show. Is it
Gohan.
Johan?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Gohan. Yes, the son of Goku. But I have to say, Piccolo is my absolute favorite
Isn't
character.
that something?
I
That is really
actually
something.
met the voiceover actor for both Goku and Piccolo at the Dallas Comic Con.
Wow. Was your son with you?
No, no, I was by myself. I wish he
Oh,
was with me. Yeah, so I'm a big kid at heart. I love amusement parks. I love drawing. I love hiking. I love traveling.
that's beautiful.
I am a big kid, and it's interesting because I had to tap into that inner kid when I was
With
writing the
him.
book. Well, with
Oh,
my
when
son
you're
and
writing
with
the
writing the
book.
book, both.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So I like how you guys had an immediate connection, but it was on his level, really.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah, it just
Yeah.
opened up his heart to you, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it
That's
was weird
awesome.
because I didn't know how I was going to. I'm like, this is our first time meeting over the phone. How is this going to work out? And I didn't want to be, so how's school going? Which is exactly what I did. And then when we start talking about hobbies, that's when we connected there.
That's beautiful. And now I'm sure that is a very precious memory for him
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
guys have that connection. But I thank you for sharing. They're sharing that with us. That's
Of
beautiful. It
course,
really
yes.
touches my heart. That's awesome. I wanted to also ask you, just as a way of getting to know you better. So when it's just your time and it's your downtime, your free time, what is it that you like to do just for you?
Hiking.
Oh, okay.
I'll go hiking. I'll have my music. Actually, I get a lot of my ideas from just being, going hiking. I live in Grand Prairie, Texas, so there's a state park nearby, and they have wonderful scenery. They have a 3 mile, 8 mile, and 12 mile trail. So some days I'll go and do that, and that's just not thinking about work,
Yeah,
not thinking about anything that's going on.
that's your piece.
That's my piece. So, and if I go on Sundays, I'll listen to gospel music. That's my church.
Yes,
Me going and being with nature and God and everything. But
I love
but
it.
I when I can go, I definitely go. Which also helps me prepare for different races I like to walk in. Since I can't run, I walk in races. So
Oh.
there's an upcoming half marathon I'm trying to get ready for. So
Now, is it you just walk in a race that people usually run, or is there certain races just
Yes.
for walking?
No, it's for those that run, and they let walkers come get join them and everything. So
I would
um,
do that.
I'm telling you, I did it the first time I did it was a few years ago, and I didn't know they could, and then I started looking up, and they were like, well, walkers are invited, and I was like, okay. So I
That is
walked
good to
my
know.
first half marathon, and my goal is to ultimately walk a full marathon. That is my goal. Full 26 miles. One day, I think back in 2017, I actually walked 18 miles, and I didn't
Wow.
realize it. And so I was like, oh, wait a minute, I walked that far, but I built up to it. So,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
impressive. I
but
bet your
it helps
military
me.
training helped with that, didn't it?
Yes, because I did not like doing ruck marches when I was in, which we had 30, 40 pound rucksack on our back, carrying our weapon and everything. So I didn't like that. But
Can't
being
imagine.
a civilian and actually going hiking and enjoying myself and everything, it was a totally different experience, and I love it. It's very breathtaking to be out with nature and even
Yes, I
just to
can
be with your
imagine.
thoughts.
That's awesome. That I mean, I love knowing that. I love knowing that about you. I feel like I really have learned something about you, your whole vibe and your whole spirit. That's really nice. I love that. And I
Thank
would I
you.
would do that walking. I mean, I love to walk. I'm not a
Oh
runner,
yes,
but
join those races because the thing is they do have a time limit, of course, as they leave the track open. But I mean, you can get out there and walk. I mean, I did the Bataan Memorial Death March a couple of years ago. I did the 14.1 mile one instead of the full 26, and I finished it in 5.5 hours. So, and
that's
I was
really
walking.
good.
I did not
Yeah,
run at all.
yeah.
So it was a great experience. And to
And
let you
what good
know,
exercise.
oh yes, yes,
Wow.
absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
I'm gonna look into that because I do like to work out. I love
Okay.
exercise. I'm gonna look into that. I'm going to.
Yes,
And thank you for sharing that with us. It
absolutely.
helps us to get
Yeah.
to know you in a more personal way, right? Uh,
Authors walkathon. I like that.
you
Yes.
see that?
Yes, I
See,
saw that.
now you
I
started
like that.
something.
Yes. We're gonna have to
That's
travel
good.
around the country to different spots to do that. I like that.
I mean, authors, we're like superheroes. So, I mean, if we set our minds
Yes. Hey,
to
we
it,
can do it. We can do
we can. We
it.
can. All right, I want to make sure I hold this book back up a little bit again. And I know it's backwards. I am not skilled enough to know how to turn the camera around, or if you're able to, but this is the book that TaShay, is it TaShay? Say it.
TaShay.
TaShay has
Hmm.
written. TaShay has written, and it's. But I don't want to say goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye. We're going to get into the book. Um, I would like you to. I know about the book.
Hmm.
I would like to give you for you to give the viewers just a quick summary of this book before I share what I like about it.
Okay.
And
So
I'm going to
this
show some illustrations while you're talking.
Okay, great. So, but I Don't Want to Say Goodbye is actually part of a 3-book series called A Child's Journey Through Grief. And this book takes place after the father has died, and the little girl knows, and her mother is preparing for the funeral. So the little girl is she's processing her grief over the death, and trying to figure out, how to feel, and because she doesn't want to say goodbye to him. I mean, she's only had him for a short period of time. So the mother is preparing for the funeral, and it's a non-traditional funeral. They actually make a wreath ball, which I thought was very interesting when I researched it. They mix in the loved one cremated ashes along with the eco-friendly concrete, and it makes a wreath ball that you place in the water, which is a home
I
for the
love
sea
that so
animals.
much. I'm
And
so
here's
excited about that. Oh, you have
a
one.
little replica of it because it's huge
Oh,
that goes in the water. So I thought it was so cool that I wanted to do
that is
something that
so
was
awesome.
non-traditional.
That is so awesome that you have that. Let me just share a couple more illustrations. I absolutely, when I read this book,
Mhm.
last year, as I told you, I was so touched. I had never heard about the reef ball before. And also, I don't know if it's just in the Black community, but
Mhm.
there's a stigma about cremation.
Yeah. Yes, I've
You
heard
know,
that stigma. Yes, yes.
yes. And so for you to write this into the book, you're actually educating us as well. So
I wanted to do that because I know how I felt when I saw my dad in the casket. I wish there was an alternative
mm,
to that. Although there's nothing wrong for those that wanted to
that
see their
want
loved
it.
ones, that's fine.
Yes.
But I want for folks to understand, hey, look, you don't have to go this route. There are some people that plant trees, some that plant
Yes.
flowers, some
And
even
it's
take the
okay.
ashes, and it's absolutely fine.
If someone else
You
is
know,
saying the same thing,
right.
yes.
It's absolutely fine. Some people want to spread their ashes, and go somewhere. But yeah, I've heard the stigma about cremation. I actually met a woman in Tulsa that said she's trying to get used to that concept
Mm-hmm.
of cremation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understandable, and it's just another avenue for those that maybe don't want to go the traditional route.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
I have to say, having been through this before, my husband died when I was a young mother,
Okay.
right?
That's
And so
sorry. Yeah.
having to go through that,
Hmm.
I must say that funerals are very expensive.
Yes.
And this was
Yes.
many years ago,
Hmm.
many, many years ago. Very expensive, and it's quite a burden on families who perhaps didn't have insurance or, are just struggling.
Hmm.
Um, and cremation is an alternative,
Yes.
but there is that stigma attached to it. So
Hmm.
I applaud you for presenting an alternative in this story, in a children's book too. So
Thank
I'm
you.
impressed with that.
I thought it was so interesting. I saw this concept a few years ago. I was watching the Travel Channel. It was something I was watching, and they were talking about a place called Sarasota, Florida. I was stationed there
Mm.
when I was in the Army. And I was like, oh, wow, what are they talking about Sarasota, Florida? What's going on? And they talked about the reef ball. And granted, this was before I even thought about writing a book. I
Yeah.
just thought it was a cool idea. And when the idea came to me about writing this book, and what I was going to do about the funeral, the idea came back in my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, who was it that, I researched and I found the group, the
Yeah.
organization in Florida, reached out to them, Eternal Reefs, and they were excited about the book. So I asked them if I can use their process in the book, and they said, yeah.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
it went from there. And the reef ball I just showed you, they make those for those that want a keepsake, and they sent that to me as well.
I think that's awesome. So when I read my part of the book, it does have to do with the reef ball, and I'll have you
Okay.
show that again. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Trina's even saying memorial services are a nice alternative, and there are other avenues.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Absolutely. So that was really, really good. Okay. So I was going to ask you who or what inspired your story, but you shared with us that you lost your dad at the age of 9.
Hmm. Yeah.
So was that was the inspiration? Were you always carrying this story in your heart that you wanted to share, or
It didn't come to me until about 2 years ago.
okay.
I, my dad's death affected me even into my adulthood.
Yeah.
It affected me how I interacted with other people. How I dealt with relationships. If you weren't already close to me, I was a bit apprehensive to be close to anybody. Even if I'm not friends with someone and something happened, it was like me reliving a death. That's how it was with me.
Mm,
So it took me a long time to finally go to counseling and deal with those emotions, because for
right.
me,
Very
not
wise.
dealing with emotions, I can suppress them, I can keep going, and not a problem. It didn't affect me as far as work or school. As a matter of fact, I thrived, because if I didn't have to think about it, it was even better for me. But the thing is that it always came back around when it came to me dealing with people and in relationships and everything. So I finally got to a point where I need to deal with this. I need to tackle this. I started going to counseling and really dealing with those emotions. My mom, who was awesome, she encouraged me to express myself, but I didn't
Hmm.
want to. I was one of those
Yeah.
kids that if I'm not happy, I don't want to deal with anything else.
And
I
just
don't,
kind
I
of
don't want to.
shut, you hold it all within. Yeah.
Exactly. And I dealt with it eternally. So, and it affected like I said, how I dealt with people and
Yeah.
everything. And so when I joined the Army, it was perfect, because it was always about the mission. I didn't have to worry about how I felt. It was fine.
Wow.
But then, like I said, dealing with people, getting closer to people and everything like that, I had to get to a point where, for me, I need to deal with that,
Yes. Yes.
and everything. So I started going through counseling, and was being able to finally enjoy Christmas. Last Christmas was the first Christmas I actually
Aw.
enjoyed Christmas. Before, I would put on a front and be like, oh, okay, and be there with everybody and be in that moment. But I was still sad. I was still angry. So this past Christmas was the first Christmas that I actually enjoyed Christmas
Wow,
and everything.
TaShay, that is really something because some people may have joined and didn't hear you in the beginning, but your
Hmm.
father died before Christmas, 2 weeks before
Yes,
Christmas.
yeah,
So you still related Christmas to his death, to his loss.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
And
And it just, I did not want to celebrate Christmas. It was fine that I got gifts and everything. I was going through the motions of being happy, but
hmm
it wasn't until actually writing this book, which I had to put it down a few times because I was getting emotional,
yeah,
tapping
I
into
can imagine.
9-year-old me, and I it was like it was free. I was able to break free, and it meant so much that I was able to get to that point. And I'm 44 years old, so that's how long it took for
That's right,
me
because
and
it's a
everything.
process and people
Yes,
are, expressing their emotions with you, expressing love and
yeah.
wish, yeah, saying how they know they can hardly imagine how tough that must have been for you.
Yeah, and I know we say kids are resilient, which they are. Children are resilient.
Yeah,
At the same time, we have to acknowledge their feelings, and it's kind of hard to acknowledge that when you're grieving yourself.
there you
So
go.
so
That's it.
you're
That's
grieving
exactly it.
as an adult, and it's like, how can I be here for this child? And I'm hurting myself. What's the best way to
Yes.
go about it? So I'm hoping this book would help open that conversation and help people, those families that's going through that grieving process to kind of move forward in that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe it will. I believe it will bless families to, like you say, have the conversation and move forward. Not just the
yeah.
children, but
Right,
as you
right.
shared, for the adults as well.
Yeah,
The adults
and
as
yeah,
well.
it's
And
never easy. It's never easy to deal with
no,
that. Never.
Jacqueline is saying she misses her dad and she lost him as an adult.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's just when you have someone that was that close to you, whether it's a parent, grandparent, friend, sibling, or whatever, that loss, it hits hard,
it really does.
and it just it's hard to try to find a way to articulate to others that maybe don't fully understand, and it's
I
like,
want to
has it
share
been
this.
that long? It's like, it's been so long. You still dealing with that? Yes, I'm still dealing with it,
Yes.
because it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't get easier. It just becomes a little bit more tolerable, and you try to
Yes.
live your life the best way you can, and still be able to remember them, because that was the tough
Absolutely.
part too. Yeah.
Absolutely. We just passed the 11th year that our mother has been gone, and
Hmm.
it's been really difficult. I have two sisters. We're all adults. I'm the youngest.
Hmm.
And for the past few years, we get together. Like my other sister, our older sister lives in New York, and we live here in Michigan. So we brought her down to be with us on our mother's birthday, just so we
Hmm.
could, be together and love on each other and be together during that time.
Right, right.
So my sister has been ill, so it's the second year in a row that she hasn't been able to come.
Hmm.
And I was speaking to her the other day, and she was expressing how that is such a help to her being with us when that day comes. And
Yeah,
she's in her
because
60s. We're
but you
all
know what? Age doesn't matter.
exactly.
When me and my family gets together, my mom, my stepmom, my sisters, now, we don't necessarily talk about that, but it's just being together, whether it's
Yes,
for a birthday or for holidays or whatever. It's that warm feeling that we have, and
absolutely.
that emotion of sadness and hurt. It was something I was afraid of. I was afraid to feel that way. I was afraid to be vulnerable, because for me, even though it wasn't taught to me, I thought it was weakness,
Of
and I
course.
didn't want to feel weak,
Oh yeah.
and everything. So it was that part of the of me that wanted to just shut down. But then I didn't realize I was shutting down that 9-year-old too,
Absolutely. Oh,
and
this
she
you
kept
you've
trying to
really
scream
gotten
out.
so you have gotten so much from the process of you writing this book.
Yes, yes, yes. I
So
saw
that's
someone ask a question about the age
the
of,
age range, yes.
yeah, from 8 to 12. But I know some people that shared it with their kids younger than 8, and I know
Younger
some
and older
adults.
than 12.
Yeah, yes, older than 12. And I've talked to adults that told me that the book helped them.
Yeah.
So
I
even
would
though I
definitely
wrote
agree
it,
with you.
yeah, I wrote it for that age range. But if you're grieving, or a child is grieving, you can share that with them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And again, for those that are just coming, it's but I don't want to say goodbye. Now, here's the little girl. This is the main character. Tell us her name.
Well, in the first book, you don't know her name because I didn't give her a name yet. However, in the second book that's coming out in September, you'll
You
find out what
may.
her name is.
Okay, well, don't tell us if you don't want us to know. Don't tell us. Because you fall in love with her, you don't even have to know her name
And
because
that's
it's
my
her.
intention.
Yeah, her and mommy. And you
Yes.
just, your heart just goes out to both of them. So tell us what you love about her, about your main character. What do you love about her? And I'm going to share
Uh,
some more illustrations.
she's a part of me. I poured some of my spirit into her.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she loves her daddy so much, and that and you know the fact that she's trying to figure out the best way to deal with it. So some of my personality in her a little bit, I wanted to make sure as far as how the importance of how she looked, how she interacted with her mother, even with Bella, who is my dog that's in the story,
Mm-hmm.
and the importance of tapping into those emotions.
Yeah.
Now, when I was younger, and my mom and I had a conversation recently after the book came out, we talked about the fact that I never saw my mom cry. I never
Oh,
saw
wow.
her cry. My mom was being strong for us, and everything. And I felt that it was really important for that little girl to see her
To see
mom
her mom
in
cry.
tears,
Yeah.
because it shows that, hey, yeah, we might be mommy or daddy, but we do have emotions, and it's
Yes,
okay
you're
and
feeling it
everything.
too.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very wise. There's so many things in here from a psychological or a
Yes.
psychosocial aspect of it. As a
Mm-hmm.
social worker, that I
Yep.
picked up really a lot of good messages. You did a great job with this book. So,
Yes.
what are two things that you would like us to remember? You shared so much with us, and it's all good. It's really all good. What are the two things that you would like children to remember from this book? If you can narrow it down to two,
Okay, okay, narrow it down to two.
because there's a lot
Um,
here.
I would say, as far as for the children, um, that it's okay to cry.
It's okay
It's
to cry.
okay. It's okay not to know how to feel. Because
Yeah,
sometimes we don't know how to feel.
right. And
We just
everybody
know.
doesn't feel the same way.
Right,
Like you
because
said,
one moment
everyone's
you're happy, next moment you're in tears. Anything could be. You can watch something on TV and all of a sudden you don't know why you're crying.
right.
So for kids to understand that it's okay to have those emotions, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means that you love someone and
That's right.
you're missing them.
That's
The second thing I would say for the parents, the caregiver, the family. Um, to really pay attention during this time, because in one day that child may be sitting there playing and feel like they're on top of the world. The next moment they may be in tears and they may
mm,
not know why they're upset. But it'll go back to that loved one, that parent, that sibling, someone that were close to them. They're not there.
yeah.
So it's very important to understand that yes, children are resilient, but also pay attention to how they're feeling and
Yeah.
acknowledge it. And not and understand that, yeah, we're going to get through this, but hey, I'm here with you. I'm crying with you. We're talking
Yes.
about this together. The
Yes.
importance of sharing that.
Absolutely. So if the child sees that mom is crying or dad is crying or grandpa's crying, they
Mm-hmm.
know it's okay. It's okay to cry.
Yes,
There's
yes,
nothing
yes,
wrong if you're crying. Yeah.
yeah,
So talking to the child and modeling in books like this, books like this, it helps. It's that
yes.
conversation starter. So we have a question. Do you think that it's a good book to read to kids before the kids have a death in the family or after?
I would say both. If you feel like you're ready to have that conversation about death. As a matter of fact, in Philadelphia, I met a family. Their child looked like they might have been about 4 or 5, and
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about the book, and the mother leaned over to the son and said, remember what I told you about, if mommy and daddy died, that this is what we want. So they've already started the
They've prepared.
conversation. They're
They've prepared.
preparing and sometimes in, not just, I wouldn't say just in African American culture, but in American culture, we sometimes don't talk about death
You're right.
until it happens.
Until it
And so,
happens.
it's kind of, it seems like it's kind of a weird feeling to, why do we want to talk about that? We wait till it happens. So this book is great before and after. And
I
even if
agree.
you want to, you don't want to get really deep into it. Like I said before, we all know that death is a part of life, but how can we kind of soften it a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, because it's
Mm-hmm.
still going to be tough, but how
Mm-hmm.
can we soften a little bit, but having the conversation,
I
and
agree.
everything. So yeah, so I believe both, before,
Before and after.
during, and after. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
another thing that I think is a benefit as well is even if it's before a child
mhm.
has dealt with this, it teaches a child how to have empathy for others who are going through it.
Absolutely.
So
Yes,
if they know someone who's had a family member or loved one die, they'll remember this book and they can have
hmm,
empathy for the person in their life. So
exactly. I
yeah,
totally
even before
agree.
they deal with it, it's good
Hmm.
for them to know to help someone else and to see what someone
Yeah.
else might be going through. So
Hmm.
it's excellent. It's excellent.
Thank
So
you.
I am going to pull out our wonderful random box of questions if you're
Okay,
ready.
okay.
And then after you answer the questions for the audience, I'm going to have the pleasure of reading my favorite part of your book. Okay, so
Awesome.
I'm going to
Okay.
just pick the questions here. Okay. You pretty much answered this. This is part two. First is, why did you write a story about grief? And you did share that with us.
Hmm.
Do you
Hmm.
think you would write a book about grieving for adults?
Ooh, good one. Actually, matter of fact, Mom, if you're on, I'm sorry if I'm going to spoil it for you. She talked about possibly writing a book about grieving for adults.
Awesome.
So I think that would be great, because she can give her perspective, and we might tag team on it. I don't know, Mom, just in case if you're
Is
listening.
Mom on? Did you see
I don't
Mom come
know,
on?
Mommy, are you on? I don't know. If not, she'll probably watch the recording and hear me. So, Mom,
Yes.
so you hear this right? I
I
think it's a
urge you, Mom,
confirmation
to do
there.
it. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because hey, we grown-ups, whether we've lost someone recently or many, many years ago, we still have to process that emotion.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, because I've seen books about grief, helping people grieve as adults, as and even as for teenagers. I see
Yeah,
a
I see
question
that
in
right
there
there.
about that. For me, actually, I think I may consider doing that, because I want people to continue to follow this little girl's journey.
Yes.
So it could, because it doesn't stop after the funeral, because you
Right.
think, yeah, the funeral's over, what's next?
Yeah.
Do they go on back to their lives, how they live, which is what the second book is about, what happens after
Yes.
the funeral. But the thing is, as a teenager, I was in a lot of extracurricular activities. I was one of those busybodies. I loved
Get
school and
busy.
everything. I was on the AB honor roll. I was in Who's Who in high school students, and I was doing this. But I
You
didn't
never dealt with
deal
it.
with
Yeah.
those emotions.
Yeah.
It was, and it showed through my interaction with different people. I was able to have that type of shallow relationship that was
Mm-hmm.
just enough to. I,
Mm-hmm.
I know you a little bit, but that's good enough,
That's
because I
enough.
don't I
And you
don't want to
kind of
learn
kept a
anymore.
wall.
Exactly. So that
Mm-hmm.
wall was so thick. Even my therapist, she told me, she said, you have this brick wall that's so thick. She actually said, let's not break it down. Let's add a door.
Oh, how
Let
nice.
I like how she said that, because I
That's right.
wasn't ready to just tear it all
Tear it
down.
down. No.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting she said that. But for me, even going through the years, but there were some people that I connected to that I didn't want to connect to, but I ended up doing it. And being in the military, and I was on a couple of deployments, you had to come together. You had
Yeah.
to.
Teamwork.
We had to
Yeah.
keep each other's back, and keep each other afloat during all that was going on. So I ended up getting close to people, and I wasn't trying to. And that's when it came to me really understanding that I needed to go ahead and deal with it.
To deal with it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I tell you, I am glad you did, and I know that everyone else is glad you did because you did it in a way that it helped
Hmm.
yourself, but you're helping so many others with this book.
Thank you. I'm
I'm
so glad to
serious.
hear
I'm
that.
serious. And it's just funny how God connects people because like I said,
Hmm.
I reviewed your book for you. You didn't even know me from anybody. And I
Right.
reviewed your book last winter and
Hmm.
I never forgot this book. And never before have I reviewed a book and then personally contacted the person just to say, I'm just my heart is so full from reading your book.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
So
so
that,
much.
yeah, and I never forgot it. So when I saw you on Instagram, I was so happy to connect with you.
And I'm glad I connected with you and all
Yes.
the other sister authors too.
Yes, 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 yes. Good. Okay, so I'm going to dig in here and ask you another question.
Okay.
This one is, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to save this question. I contacted the person. They're asking
Okay.
about schools, and we're going
Okay.
to have Mr. David Miller join us in a couple of weeks. He is
Okay.
the expert. So I told her I'm going to hold on to this question.
Okay.
Okay, let me get another one. What struggle have you had with promoting your book? What struggle have you had with promoting your book?
I would say figuring out the marketing piece.
Mm.
Um, I had some ideas before because even when I was in the Army, I did recruiting for a couple of years. So I knew some things about marketing, but
Mm-hmm.
marketing a book is a lot different than what I
Mm.
was doing. So being in those Facebook groups, listening and watching YouTube videos, um,
Yes.
reading articles and figuring out, okay, so where do I need to tap into? How do I do this? I wasn't really big with social media. I was
Okay.
good as far as my family. If I knew
Okay.
you, we're good.
Okay.
I didn't want to, people that were friends with some of my family members. I didn't know you. I wasn't going to connect with you because I don't know you.
Right.
But then I wanted to get the book out. So how do I get the book out? I'm gonna have to have a separate Facebook page, a separate
Yes.
Instagram page, and Twitter. And I was so against Twitter initially. And Tanya, the illustrator, and one of my sisters, they both were like, if you really want to get this book out, you need to go on Twitter as well. So
Okay.
I was like, okay. So I got on there. Great experience. I met some phenomenal people, some phenomenal authors on there,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing their books and how they're marketing. And I actually connected with a singer in New Zealand
Wow.
who purchased my book. As a matter of fact, she contributed to my Kickstarter campaign, which was
Oh,
actually pretty awesome. And she endorsed the book and put it on her social media site. So just learning various ways. And then I connected with a public relations person over in San Diego, John.
mm-hmm.
He reached out to me. And so I'm learning another way. And he was able to
Okay.
feature the book on San Diego Living in California. So
I remember seeing
um,
that. It was good
so
too.
yeah, I thought it was a great way that how they did it. So
Yeah.
I'm learning these various ways, connected with Daryl Harvey with the Black Child Book Fair and everything. So
Right.
I Philly was my third one to do with him, and just interacting with people, the families, teachers, counselors, just really getting out there. Now,
Yeah.
have what I've done that maybe a few years ago?
No,
Probably not.
probably not.
um, but
Not from what you
but
shared.
yeah, but doing this and opening myself up,
Yes.
which is part of this for
It's
me
part
to
of this is
share.
part of your whole journey, your
Yes,
whole
so sharing
healing
my
journey.
soul and it's something that was kind of like, but to be able to do that and seeing the impact that it has with other
Mm-hmm.
people, helping other folks, yeah, I definitely love that.
That's good. So your
Yeah.
answer would basically your challenges were is pretty much going outside of yourself and having to reach out and make these relationships.
Yes, yes, and
And I
learning new
find that's
things
number
about it.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that's number one with authors and meeting new authors and being in different like Clubhouse or Instagram conversations.
Hmm.
The questions are about marketing, like what do I do? How do I
Right,
do this?
right.
How do I make this happen? And with
Yeah.
us indie authors, we're pretty much learning as we go.
Yep.
And it is the connections that I've made with other people that have made the difference for me.
Absolutely,
you know
absolutely. I had a magnet on my car when I did when I was doing pre-orders and stuff. I got a magnet for the car, so wherever I drove around, people
you
saw
had
it.
that.
Yeah,
That's smart.
I've reached out. Actually, I reached out to police stations. I reached out to, and as a matter of fact, got a connection with the Rotary Club here in Grand Prairie. I got to speak
Oh,
with them through that connection,
through that
and
connection.
everything. So the interesting thing is when I go out and talk to people, I don't have that problem doing that, but actually bearing myself is where that comes in, because I can
Yeah.
do the shallow part. I'm good with the shallow part, but when it came to just really digging
Yeah.
deep down, showing that vulnerable side,
Vulnerability.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm still a work in progress, but I've gotten a lot better with that.
And you have. I mean, you've shared with us so much already this evening, and it just endears you to me more, and I'm sure everybody else feels the same way. Yeah, it just makes me, it's like falling in love with you and this little girl at the same time.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, it's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to dig in here and get another question.
All
I love
righty.
surprising you guys with these questions. I don't know which one I'm going to get. You have no idea. Okay, this question says, oops, what is your favorite childhood memory? What is your favorite
Ooh.
childhood memory? That's a good
Ooh,
question.
okay, yeah,
That's
because
a good one.
there's a lot of them there. Um, mm, okay, that's really tough because I have to pick one.
Yeah, just one.
Um, I will have to say when I learned how to ride horses.
Oh, wow.
It was after my dad died, my mom was dating a guy who was a cowboy, and he had his own ranch. And I didn't know what equine assistant therapy was until I was an adult. Well, actually, doing this a little bit, and when I was going through social work school and find out about it, and I realized back then when I learned how to take care of a horse, learned how to ride a horse, that was therapy for
That
me.
was therapy.
That was
Yes.
therapy, and I did not realize it until later on. And then me and my mom were talking about it. I was like, that was part of the therapeutic process, just
Yes,
interacting
yes.
with animals. And it just happened to be, it was a horse
With
named
horse.
Star. Star was his
Absolutely.
name, and
And that's
yeah.
becoming a lot more popular today
Hmm.
as an alternative therapy. And for those of you
Yes.
out there who haven't heard about it, equine therapy is when you use horses to help people to heal, to release their feelings and make connections.
Hmm.
So I think that's beautiful. I think
Yeah,
that's
and I
really.
put that in the second book too.
Oh, okay. Did you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes,
good.
I did. I
So
did.
you're all in it. You're all in here.
Yes, yes. Well, you know what? It's some of my experiences I put in there,
Hmm.
because I wanted to be as authentic as possible, even though adding some new stuff in there, but I wanted to still share me,
Yeah.
in that as well. Yeah.
And again, even though you were saying about, not breaking the wall down, when your therapist is saying having a door go through the wall,
Hmm.
you are being vulnerable in the book.
Yes.
Everyone doesn't know that's you in the book, but you
Right.
do.
Right. Yeah.
You do, you know? So, yeah, that's being vulnerable. And that makes that emotional connection for me.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the goal of reading, of being a good writer, is
Hmm.
making an emotional connection with your reader. That's when you're
Absolutely. Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's when you know for sure.
that's
I've
it.
had people come back telling me I was in tears when I read this, and
Uh,
I was like, okay, all right. The
that's
power of
right.
words, very important.
Very important. And I can tell you that obviously that's true because, like I said, I contacted you last year. I didn't even know who you were, but I knew that book was something else. Okay, I'm picking another question.
All righty.
All right. Um, oh, this one is about selling books in bookstores. So I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
What is a good split to sell your book in a local bookstore? I've heard that 60/40 is a good split. Do you have any opinion on that? It's kind of specific.
right now, I don't have an opinion because I'm just now doing this.
Right.
I have my book in a couple of local stores. One here in the DFW area, and then I actually linked up with a young lady, Nietzsche Book Bar in Wisconsin. So she has my book up there in the local bookstore there. Um, I've seen the debates about the 60/40 thing. Some people agree, some people don't.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going with it until
So you
something
know
else.
something better, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm doing for right now.
Yeah,
So
my
yeah,
sister was asking me about that earlier, and it's like, I don't have enough experience to answer that. I'm mixing up the
yeah.
questions. But I've heard 60/40, I've heard 70/30,
Hmm.
but my writing coach is here. She probably can answer that or have some idea about it. But I think it's kind of an individual situation and
Yeah, because
depending on the bookstore.
I think with you just starting out, because this is my first book, so I'm trying to get exposure.
That's it.
So if 60/40 is what I got to do right now to
Then that's
get
what
my
you do.
name out there, get the book out there, and get folks to see it and want to get it, then I'll go with that for right
That's
now. And
right.
if something else changes, then I'm good with. Now, one thing about me, I love change. I have no
Yeah.
problem with change.
Yeah.
So as of right now, that's what I'm going to go with. If someone finds something better, let me know.
Girl,
But
listen, if
yeah,
I find something better, I'll let you know.
you're cool. I'm all about
Because
that.
I'm
But
with
yeah,
you. You know,
yeah,
we're learning. And so this person is probably learning too. Obviously, they're asking, but that's how we grow. We help each other. You know,
exactly,
we share
exactly.
information. So that was a good question. Okay. This question says, what advice would you give a child who has had a parent to die or to make their transition? And you kind of touched on that. But
Yeah,
what advice would you give a child who has had their parent to make that transition? And so a child, I mean, you know, I don't know exactly the age, but let's say, you know,
yeah.
our little friend here.
I would tell her, number one, it's okay to feel what you're feeling. Whatever it is that you're feeling, it's okay. If 1 minute you're happy and 1 minute you're sad and 1 minute you're mad, it's okay. It's
That's right.
okay. That's the number one piece that I want that child to know, that it's okay.
It's okay.
Um, the next piece, um, when you're ready to talk, it's okay.
Mm,
Okay. You don't have to talk right now if you don't want to. We can talk later. We can do something else. We can do activities. I volunteer at a grief counseling center for children, and the age group that I work with was between 5 and 8 years old. I'm starting back next month with
mm-hmm.
them, and we do different activities. Sometimes the kids come in there and they are extremely excited to be there. They're happy. Some kids come in, don't want to talk the whole session. They don't talk. We just do various activities and everything like that. I would say, if you feel comfortable, go to your parent, go to your grandparent, whoever it is around that you trust to talk to.
To
Um,
talk, yes.
it's okay. You may not want to talk now, but it's okay when you're ready to get that out.
When you're ready,
When
yes.
you're ready. If you want to write in a journal, if you want to draw how you feel, if you want, just different things like that. If you want to go on a walk with your family, just whatever it is that you feel that it will make you feel better. Not
Yes.
even better, or even just to get out of what you're in that moment. Because you know
Mm-hmm.
how some people take it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
In situations like this, I say take it minute by
It's
minute or
moment by
second by
moment. Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you're not
because
going to feel the same every day.
exactly, you may not feel the same emotions within that same day.
You're
It will
right.
be different. So I would just say, know that it's okay what you're feeling.
If that,
Whatever it
absolutely.
is you're feeling, it's
Then
okay
that's
what you're
okay,
feeling.
right? And
Yeah,
it kind of
yeah.
goes back to what you said earlier: is the advice for the parents or the grown-ups in the
Mhm.
family is to keep an eye on the child,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
so that you can
yes.
see what they're
Hmm.
going through, or if they
Because
are
yeah,
holding
because
it in.
some kids are quiet. Some kids will lash out. Some kids will
Yes.
be may throw things. Some kids may seem like they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something, some of us, because I know for a while I was good. Now my mom knew better, but folks that didn't really know me, I was able to put on that smile and everything is
Mm-hmm.
fine and I'm good. But deep down I was hurting.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say for those that's close to that child, pay attention, even if they seem like they're fine. Ask them how they're doing, how they feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
Do they want to talk?
Yeah.
And
That's
everything.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. And really remember, everybody's different. Yeah.
Everybody's, and no one grieves the
The
same way
same. No.
or
No.
at the same time. Some
No.
people, it don't hit them until years later. Some, it
Yes.
hit them right then. I know I've heard some people say, well, they didn't cry at the funeral. I don't remember crying at the funeral. I
Yeah.
remember crying when my mom told me
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Some people don't cry until later. Some people don't cry in public.
I know.
Some people cry in the bathroom,
But we judge
so.
that, don't we, as a
Yeah,
society? We
yep,
judge
we
that.
do. If we don't see you boohoo crying, then you must not be grieving, and that's
Right.
not necessarily always the
It's
case.
not. It's
Yeah,
not. So
yeah. And
that's
sometimes
good advice.
I'll tell anybody, if you see someone that's smiling, even though they may be going through, that might be the way that they are able to keep themselves going, is having that
Hmm.
smile.
The way they're holding it together.
How the
You
way they're
just
holding
don't
it
know.
together.
You just don't
Exactly.
know.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That was
Exactly.
a good question, and that's good. Very good answer. Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more. Okay, one more
Okay.
question. You're doing so good. These are
Thank
great
you.
answers.
I love the
Okay,
questions.
good. Yeah, they send in such good questions. They do.
Yeah.
Okay, this one says, do you recommend having a writing coach? Do you recommend having a writing coach?
That I don't know. I don't have a writing coach.
Okay.
So I would say if you feel like you need one, you know, reach out to one. Because I would say this, everybody's different. It's the same thing when I tell
Yes.
somebody about therapy. If you're looking to get a therapist, you know, you may not mesh with the first one you connect with. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say the same thing with a writing coach. I would say get to know them, see what what they do, how they do things, see if they work well with you. So if you decide to get a writing coach, look at them as if you look for a doctor, a dentist, a
Yeah, I
hairdresser,
agree. It's that
whatever. Is
important.
that important? If it's that important for you to get that person, make sure you take the time to get to know them and know how they work and see if
Yes.
they mesh well with you.
Yes, that's really good advice. I agree with that 100%. And then also, I want to add that there are different types of writing coaches. So I do
Absolutely.
editing. Yeah, I do editing, but I also provide a service like if you need me to sit with you. A friend of mine wrote a book, um, and she really needed me to sit with her. So we sat together every week. We had an appointment for all the
Hmm.
months it took her to write the book. So I not only did editing, but we did writing, coached her with
Right.
the writing.
Okay.
So I'm really great with that. But
Hmm.
I have a coach for the writing business who,
Okay.
oh,
Okay.
the whole business of writing.
Right.
And her key is monetizing your writing. And she's
Gotcha.
here, writing coach LK right there. But
Hi.
she's awesome, and she's really transformed the way that I approach the business of
Okay.
writing and selling
Gotcha.
books. But a writing coach can be many different things. It depends on what you need. So if you need
Right.
someone to help you literally writing to get your message out, that's a whole different thing,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
But listen, girl, I'm just being honest with you. I needed help with the whole
Gotcha.
business of it, right? I
Right. And
needed
I'm
help with
still
the
learning too. So writing coach, I may be reaching out to you
She's
now.
amazing. She's amazing. But that was a very, very good question. So let me just say, TaShay, that was excellent.
Thank
You
you.
breezed right on through those questions, and they were really good answers. So thank you guys out there for sending them in. But yeah,
Yes,
that was
thank
just
you. Awesome questions.
they were. I love this format when they just send me the questions, and then I just have my sister prints them up for me, and then I just pick, and you never know what you're going to get. But those were good.
Right.
Those were good. So now comes my favorite time where I'm going to pick my favorite part. And I'm going to share, if you would like to share the illustrations while I'm reading, because I'm dealing with the one hand over here. I got a cast on my right, and I'm fumbling with, dropping things, and I don't know if I can turn the pages. So I'm going to start on page 7.
Okay.
I'm sorry, let's see. I'm going to go over a minute because I don't want to break up what I want to share. So
Okay.
let's start on page 5. And I'm just going to
Okay.
go over a little, but I'm sure no
Okay.
one will mind. Okay, I'm starting on page 5. I'll show the illustration first. Okay. Okay. I told you I was going to knock something over. I just knocked over. Okay. All right. I tell mommy that I don't want to see daddy's body, and she tells me I won't have to. She explains that he was cremated. This means his body was burned to ashes. I'm glad I won't have to see daddy's body, but it makes me sad to think that his body is gone. Some of my friends at school have gone to funerals. Jose went to a funeral for his grandfather. He said he saw his grandfather's body in a coffin, which is used for viewing the body of the person who's died. Trina and Cynthia, they went to a funeral for their aunt. They didn't see her body because the coffin was closed. Bobby went to his grandmother's funeral. He said her body was cremated like Daddy's. Her ashes were in a vase. Mommy says Daddy's funeral won't be like those. She says we are going to celebrate Daddy's life by doing something he loved, protecting the earth. Oops. Oh. Mommy's right. Daddy did like protecting the earth. On weekends, we used to pick up trash in the parks, help clean up the beaches, and plant trees. But how can a funeral help the earth? Mommy says we are going to use Daddy's ashes to make a reef ball. The reef ball will be a new home for fish and other sea animals. I like that idea. I think Daddy would too. Mommy tells me that when I get older, I can learn to dive, and then we can go swim under the water and see the reef ball. Such a beautiful illustration. Mommy tells me that after the service, we'll meet at the park and have a picnic to celebrate Daddy. We will have several big pictures of him and listen to music. We'll also share stories about Daddy. She asked if I would like to help make a playlist of Daddy's favorite songs. Even though I want to make the playlist, I am sad that Daddy won't be able to hear it. He was a really great dancer, and that makes me smile. Oh. The next day, we meet a group of people who help us make a reef ball. Then we start by creating a pearl out of Daddy's ashes and concrete. Then we put the pearl inside a reef ball. I make handprints all around the top hole for decoration. As we're leaving, Mommy shows me a plaque with Daddy's name on it. It has the date he was born and the date that he died. Though seeing the plaque makes me sad, making the reef ball makes me smile. That night, I have a dream. My dog Bella and I are swimming underwater near the coral reefs. One of the reefs calls my name. The voice sounds like Daddy's. I ask if I can stay with him, but he says no. He says I belong on land, but that I can visit whenever I want. That's my favorite part. I'm almost in tears. Wasn't that beautiful, everybody?
You got me getting a little teary-eyed.
I know. It's just beautiful. Everyone is just, oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Silly Billy. Thank you so much. It is a blessing. It is a blessing. And this book will, it's like, it does give you therapy. Jacqueline's saying it's like giving her therapy. But I chose that part. I wanted to just choose the part to focus on the reef ball, but it was the transition. I needed to read the beginning as well. I wanted everyone to see that she was in turmoil about this body. She didn't want to see that body. Mm-hmm. She didn't want to see her daddy like that, right? I was a grown woman when my dad passed away. I did not want to see his body, and to this day, I wish I didn't, right? Right, yeah. So I connected with that part, and I applaud her mom for giving an alternative to her. You know, like we talked about the stigma of cremation. Mm-hmm. And then, as I said to you before, I was just so in awe of this reef ball, you know, and how you researched that and, you know, you included that. I learned something and I was just so impressed with that. and it was beautiful. So I wanted them to see that that helped her to let go, so to speak. She
Hmm.
wasn't traumatized by seeing her daddy's body. They were able to do something together with all the people that loved her dad,
Hmm.
and then with the music and the pictures. And then I wanted to end with the dream where she's in the water and the reef calls to her and it's her dad. He tells her to go, but she can come visit whenever she wants.
Yeah.
I just thought that was beautiful. I know that was way more than 1 minute, but I had to include that. So those are my thoughts about what I wrote, about what I read, and I would like you to just share what you think about the part that I chose.
I love it because I remember, always having that thought and wishing that, maybe it was a dream that he died.
Mm.
And that maybe I used to have thoughts of maybe he was in witness protection.
Oh,
Maybe one day he'll come back. Maybe this was all a joke, a joke that's gone wrong. I just had all these different thoughts. So when I wrote the dream sequence, as far as how can I get it to where, because this little girl, she's missing him.
yes,
She has a lot of questions
yes.
circling around as to why did it have to happen. But the thing is, giving her a little bit of comfort in that dream to where those spirits connect in this dream sequence.
She
Um,
reconnects with her dad.
exactly. So even though it wasn't in the physical sense, but she was able to hear him, she was able to feel him in that moment.
Hmm.
And I wanted to make sure that I acknowledged the different types of funerals that you read,
Hmm. You did,
because not everybody's going to do the same thing.
right. And
And
cultures are different, and you also have different
exactly,
cultures. So I thought
exactly.
that was great too.
I wanted to make sure that folks knew that, yeah, we acknowledge the other ones, but okay, you don't want to do an open casket, you want to do a closed casket, you want to do
Yeah,
cremation.
yeah,
It's so many
yeah.
various ways of remembering your loved one.
Yes.
And I just wanted just to add on to, if you don't know about this, here's another option,
Something else
uh,
you can do. Yeah.
something else that you can do. And
It was just beautiful to me. I'm telling you,
thank you.
this is one of my favorite children's reads.
Thank
And
you so much.
there's a lot of good books out there, and I've met some wonderful, wonderful authors. But I never forgot your book. Like I said, even before I connected with you on Instagram, I
Hmm.
never forgot this book.
Oh,
So
that
yeah,
means so much. Thank
yeah,
you.
it's a blessing, and I think it's going to bless a lot of people. So I know that the book is available on Amazon.
Hmm.
Right. I think that's where I got my copy. It was on Amazon.
Hmm.
Do you have a website you'd like to share, or is there another
Oh, yeah,
location?
absolutely. www.TaShay Mason, TaShay Mason.com. It gives information about the reef ball. If you or someone you know is interested in doing
Yeah,
something like that, I have a link on the page that goes to the Eternal Reserve organization that you can learn more about that. I talk about the
beautiful.
Child's Journey Through Grief series, this book, and then the next book, It's Okay to Be Happy, which will be coming out in September. There's also a link on there to the bookstores, the local bookstores that it's in.
Okay, good.
Also, a link to, I have an online bookstore, also Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, booksamillion.com,
Well, I'm going to put
Kobo.
the your
So
all of your information,
yeah,
your website.
it's all on my website. You can go to my website, and everything like that. So if you have any questions, or if you want to reach out to
Mhm.
me, my email address is tashay@bellshayhouse.com.
I'm going to
Um,
include all of that because
awesome.
and
Okay.
just to let everybody know, I just got the YouTube channel up and running, so we can actually
Oh,
have this full thing.
yay.
So I'll have all of that typed up so that everybody can contact you and get more
Awesome.
information. And just the comments, someone saying that they like this. It's okay to be happy. Yeah, and Granny Wowzers is saying she wished she knew about the reef ball when her father passed. It would have helped. And Jacqueline is saying, she didn't want to see her father's body either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I really appreciate, the it's just it's like eye-opening, an eye-opening alternative that really can be a blessing. So I could talk about your book all day.
Thank you. I
I'm going to make
appreciate
sure
it.
that I give everybody all the information, and then they'll be able to replay as well. So now comes the fun part, though.
Okay.
This is the final 5. And I just ask you some fun questions just so people can leave on a happy note
Okay.
and just to get to know you a little better. So my first question for you is, I believe that everybody is a nerd about something. So this is all about your level of nerdiness.
Okay.
What are you a nerd about?
Movies.
Oh, I knew that about you. You shared that.
Movies, and cartoons.
Yes, you said that you like binge watching movies or series, right?
The same stuff over and over. I'll see like a million times, and I'll sit there and watch it. And then my particular genre. I have various genres. But
What is your favorite here? What do
I
what
love
do you like?
horror movies. 90s horror movies.
Do you? My husband likes
Yes,
horror movies.
I actually, me and my baby sister LaRonda, we met Robert Englund, the guy that played Freddy Krueger, and we took a
Oh, come
picture
on now.
with him.
Nobody,
We took a picture with
I
him.
couldn't.
I'm telling you,
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, I don't usually get too excited, but when we were in line waiting, and the picture, he has the glove on my shoulder, and and it was only we took a picture, and it was only one time we can do it. You would have thought I had won the lottery.
Oh,
I was
girl,
just
no, I
like,
would
this
not.
joker right here.
Listen, that would have given me nightmares.
It was so awesome because this guy scared me as a kid, and I get to meet
You
him.
met him.
Yeah, and he was so cool. He was like, "Hey, let's hug up," and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is you." So, yes.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Somebody's
Yeah.
asking me to tell you to do a movie quote.
A movie quote.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Okay. So since I just spoke about Robert Englund, so I'm going to take from one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. How sweet, fresh meat.
Ugh, that's so gross. That's so gross.
I do love drama.
Okay.
I can flip it and I can watch drama. I love inspirational movies.
Okay.
One of my favorite inspirational movies is The Shack. I don't know if you, The Shack.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Octavia Spencer that plays God in the movie. I'm going to tell you, touch my
I
heart
read that
right
book
there.
first and it was amazing.
I haven't read the book yet. I plan on reading the book, but that
the book was
movie,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're gonna love the movie. The movie was so inspirational. I'm not a crier, but I was crying on this movie
Yeah,
right
I
here.
did see it. And when you said Octavia Spencer, I remember. Oh,
Yeah.
now somebody's going to continue with how sweet fresh meat. You guys are so gross, really. But it's just.
But yeah, I love it. If it's a touch, like I said, it is funny because folks go, "How do you like horror, but then you like drama?" I say, "Hey, I have my favorites. I love watching
different
movies
genres.
like that. Yeah, I love it. TV shows, Law and Order, SVU.
That's me.
The new one, Organized Crime. I love
don't like
that one too.
I didn't care for that one.
I like the fact that Stabler and Olivia, they're together.
They're partners.
I'm waiting for them. I'm waiting for them to really get together and everything. But yeah, I love that. I love cartoons. I mentioned Dragon Ball Z. I love Looney Tunes. I like Rick and Morty.
Somebody else is talking about anime in here.
Yeah, I love me some anime. Akira, one of my favorite anime movies. Akira. Rurouni Kenshin, another one. Yeah. So yes, I have a variety.
I would just say you're well-rounded.
Yes, very.
That's all. You're well-rounded.
Yes.
Very, very cool. Very cool. What about food now? What's your favorite food?
Ooh. Okay, so I was stationed in Korea as my first duty station. I love Korean food. Korean food. That's one of my favorites, and I love seafood as well. So between Korean and seafood, I definitely got it.
Look at the comments. Danny Welch is like, I love her. Yeah, I love seafood. We were my sister and one of our friends, we call her sister too. We were out yesterday looking at lobster and crab legs and complaining about how expensive they are. But yeah, we love seafood.
So delicious, so delicious.
Yeah. What about desserts? What's your favorite dessert?
So ice cream, chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay.
But I like the non-vegan. Not non-vegan, non-dairy, the vegan.
Non-dairy, me too.
Yeah, I love that. I love chocolate cake and apple pie, homemade apple pie. Of course, my grandmother makes the best
Of
homemade
course.
apple pie. It's been a while since she made it, but I can work with Target or Kroger every now and then, all right,
Oh,
or
really?
Granny
Okay.
Smith, yeah. But my
Okay.
grandma is the best on
Yeah,
that.
I can, I don't know if you know, but I used to have a cake business. So baking is my thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
baking is my
right.
thing.
I
Yeah.
see.
And
Okay,
yeah, my husband's favorite is apple pie. He likes apple pie,
I
but he
love
also
apple
likes
pie.
any cake or any sweet thing that I would make.
My
He's
sister has a sweet tooth. She loves,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. All right, good, good, good. Okay, so what is your favorite word? I always ask that. What's your favorite word to speak, to say, to write, to hear? What's your favorite word?
I would say resilience.
Resilience. Oh,
That's
that's a
my
good one.
favorite word. That's my
That's a
favorite
good one.
word because I see myself in that word. I see not a lot of people that have struggled and made it through. And even though it may have taken them a lifetime to get through it,
Mm,
resilience is such a strong and powerful word,
that's a
you
powerful
know.
word. That's a
Yeah, yeah.
powerful word.
I love that word. I know in the military we talk about that, being resilient. You know, whether it's, you know, being deployed, you know, practicing, getting ready, you know, but it's just even the kids that I work with in the grief counseling center, for them that's dealing with, you know, parents that died in various ways,
Yeah, yeah,
and for them to come and to really express themselves. You know, sometimes adults, it's kind of hard for us to express, but you got
absolutely.
little ones that are able to do that. You know, to see the resiliency in them. I love that word because that word can apply to anybody. You know,
Anybody. Now, I do.
anyone.
We hear this word a lot when it comes to African American people
Hmm.
in general.
Hmm.
We
Yes, I
hear
mean we
that,
just celebrate Juneteenth.
and we had no
Yeah,
choice but be resilient.
exactly. And granted, I'm from Texas, so I knew about Juneteenth like forever.
That's
And
awesome.
I was actually shocked to hear that some people never heard of it when I began to travel. But to just to look at, and I went to Tulsa, visit Black Wall Street.
I saw your pictures. Yeah,
Yeah, so the resiliency of Black people, the resiliency of the Jewish community, the
yeah,
Holocaust and everything. You know, you look at different groups of people and you see there's resiliency through anybody that has suffered through something.
yeah.
You know,
Native
what
Americans.
exactly. So, you
Yeah.
know, dealing with, or if you ever been homeless, as a social
Yes,
worker,
yes.
I work with veterans who are at risk of being homeless. So, just dealing with those different, you know, different people that have struggled, whether it was
Mm,
with drugs, alcohol, whether it's domestic violence, whatever, for them to come up out of that, that shows so much strength and
it does.
courage. And
It
that's why
does.
I really love that word, resilience,
That, yeah,
because it can
that's
apply to
good.
anybody.
I like that. That is a good word, and I love how you defined it for its meaning for you. And
Thank you.
someone's writing coach is from Texas. She's like, "What part of Texas, best
I
friend?"
I am originally from Dallas, but I live in Grand Prairie right now. And as a teenager, I lived in Tyler, so I kind of been a little bit over North and East Texas. But I'm in Grand Prairie right now.
Oh, okay. Our middle son just moved to Texas the other day.
Okay, where?
Is it called Huts? 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 Something like that. I need to ask my
Mm,
husband.
yeah, I don't know.
Huts?
There's
Hutto?
there.
Hutto? Is it Hutto or Hutto? It's outside of Dallas, I think, or
A lot of
Austin.
little towns
It's
outside of
called
Dallas.
Hutto. I think that's a
Hutto.
Hutt. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
yeah,
look that one up because that one
yeah.
I'm
I
not
never heard
familiar
of it
with.
before. I never heard it.
Fort Worth,
But
you right down the
yeah, Fort
road,
Worth.
riding coach. You right down the road. Okay.
Right. Right. Okay, so my very last question for you, and I
Okay.
could talk to you for hours. My last, I don't, writing coach, I don't know it. I think he said
Huntsville?
Hutto. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
because I
let you
was
all
thinking
know.
Huntsville at first. I
It's a
wasn't
small,
sure.
no, there's no Ville. I think because
Oh,
I
okay.
asked him, I was like, I never heard of that. How do you spell it? And I think it was Hutto.
Oh, well, that's a new
But
one.
I'll let
That's
you
a
know.
new
I'll
one.
let you know.
Okay.
So, what is the issue? The one issue for you that makes your blood boil, that just makes you want to scream? What is that,
People being disrespectful to other people.
girl? Yes.
If not, I understand we
Yes.
all go through things. I've even had a moment where when I was being angry and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you see people, not just people, animals too, because I'm a big
Oh,
animal activist. So when I see people and animals being mistreated, it really makes my blood boil. But I also
mhm.
understand if they are hurting others, that means they're hurting themselves.
And you know, Joyce Meyer, I remember years ago, she
Mm-hmm.
said, hurting people hurt
Hurt
people.
others. Yeah. Now you have some people that were hurt that said, I don't want other people to hurt. So they decide to, help others. But there's some that are so damaged
Yeah,
that they want someone to be on the same level as them and that
that
they want
they
to
are.
hurt. Yeah,
Yeah,
it just really makes my blood boil. Yeah.
well, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That's a good reason. That's a
But
real good
I just
reason.
try to pray, because then I know me, and I'm like, you know what, let me pray for them, because they're dealing with some stuff that they can't handle themselves, so they're
Exactly. There's
lashing out.
something.
Yeah,
There's
there's
something that
something
has to
going
be
on.
going on.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they're lashing out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I have enjoyed talking to you.
I've
I
enjoyed
really
talking
have
to you
enjoyed it.
too.
It's been so nice getting to know you better and to talk about your book,
Yes,
especially.
thank you
I'm
so
excited for
much.
September for your next book to come out, the
Yes.
second one in this series.
Yes, and we're having an in-person book launch in August. So I'm working on the details and venue and all that right now. So I'm
Okay,
looking
make sure you
forward to
give to
that.
me and I'll be happy to share. Be
Definitely
happy to share.
will. Yes,
So if there's
yes.
any last words you would like to share with everybody before we go?
Yes, first I want to say thank you, Naomi. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for giving us a voice to even talk about us, our book,
Oh,
and everything like that. I greatly appreciate it. This is, like I said earlier, it's definitely a blessing. I definitely
oh, I
appreciate it.
appreciate that.
Yes. For those of you all that are, that love the book, please make sure you put a comment on Amazon. If
Yes.
you want me to come and speak, if you want to do a virtual speak, if you want to reach out to me too, email me. Hey, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Definitely don't mind connecting with folks and everything. So thank you all for having me.
You're very welcome. And are you TaShay House on all of the social media platforms?
Actually, Twitter is my name, TaShay Mason.
Okay, so
Uh,
DM me because I want to make sure I give
okay,
everything so everybody
okay,
can
got you.
contact you.
Absolutely,
Okay.
I would definitely do
All right.
that.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, Sister
Thank you,
Author.
you too.
All right.
Yes.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll talk to you next week. All right.
Bye,
Good night.
everyone.
All right.